Salve. So I want to start off by saying that my Latin teacher in university was not hideous at all. Despite what the title might say, I do not want to imply that one bit. She was really good. I enjoyed the class a lot, even though it was a lot of work, a lot of memorization and translation and that sort of thing. But I really enjoyed it. However, I know that for many people, Latin was definitely a hideous subject to have to do, especially if the teacher was kind of old, ruler wagging type thing. So hopefully this will kind of shed some light on Latin, and I'll be able to share kind of my interest in how much I enjoyed it with all of you. Latin itself is not spoken anymore. It's considered a dead language. Scholars study ancient Latin in universities and look at Roman scrolls and books and sculptures and all that sort of thing. Ecclesiastical or biblical Latin is still spoken by the Vatican and by people who are going to become priests. Rowling herself studied Roman history and Latin, and you can definitely see how that influenced her in her writings in these books. All right, she kind of used Latin in two particular ways. The first of these ways is in things like names and potions and that sort of thing. So the best example probably is the professor Harry Potter had called Remus Lupin. He turned into a werewolf, and you could tell that right away just by looking at his name. Remus is from Romulus and Remus, who are the traditional founders of Rome. They were supposedly raised by wolves. And then the name Lupin is taken from the Latin word for wolf. So right away you can see the connections to wolves and to werewolves and to this particular professor. Severus Snape. Severus means severe. There are many other cases. Sirius Black, Dog Star, so you can see the dog connection because Sirius transforms into a dog. Also potions, I had mentioned before there. Felix Felicius essentially means like luck of luck or luck and intense happiness, and that exactly describes what that potion does to Harry when he drinks it. Besides that, the school motto is in Latin too, and that's pretty common. Most universities and countries and kind of organizations today, especially those with deep heritage, have a Latin motto. Where Latin's even more prominent to those who have read the books and seen the movies is in the use of spells. So some of the spells she did are exactly Latin translations. So when Harry says accio, that is translated as I acquire, or reparo is I repair. Some of the spells are not even Latin at all. Reducio, although it sounds Latin, is not Latin at all. That's probably the best example of that. Some of them are hybrids of Latin. So when you get expelliarmus, you get expel, which is Latin word, armus, from where we get like arms and armament, and then the us ending, which is what many Latin words are ended with. Some of the spells she decided to do are actually Latin phrases. So for example, expecto patronus, or patronum, is Latin for I expect patronus, which is like a guardian spirit, which is exactly what that spell does. So Rowling uses Latin for a number of reasons, and really effectively in the Harry Potter books. One, Latin was the language of Europe for many years, particularly a language for academic and scholars, arcane knowledge in ancient books. The witches and wizards of medieval time, or those who practiced witchcraft, they used Latin for their incantations and their books as well. And then Europe seems to be the focus of the wizarding world, so it's a logical connection to put those two together. Latin also is very close to English, so for anyone with a basic language knowledge in English, you can hear Latin words and you can kind of get what they mean. They also really pop in the book. You can be reading the book or watching the movie, they're speaking English, or whatever language you read them in, and then boom, that Latin word comes in. And it really kind of, the actor or the reader can really get it kind of emotionally, can kind of come through, and it really kind of pops and gives you a different feeling. So it's not just that these words are different, that they have a power to them. They're not just basic English words. In fact, Rowling liked Latin so much that she had the first, I believe it's just the first 3 books so far, translated into Latin, which to me has always begged the question, are the spells in these books in English or whatever language a reader might be in? I don't know. I've seen a copy of one of them, but never had a chance to really look at it in any details. So maybe some of you have seen a copy, or you have one, or you just kind of know. And if so, tweet me or leave it in the comments. Let us know, because that would be very interesting for me to find out. All right, next week I am going to look at some sports stuff. I'm going to look at this thing that came up recently in which the NFL, which is clearly the biggest sports league in North America, is actually copying something the NHL did, and kind of trace the history back of those leagues a little bit and say, is this a change in the way we do sports in North America, or is it really just kind of more of the same? This is merely a blip on the road. All right, well, until next week, so say we all.